Leadership Module 2, Developing a Culture of Trust. Trust is a key factor in engagement and is critical to any optimal teaching and learning environment. In this module, we will discuss the basic components of how we as leaders can build a culture of trust in the online learning environment. We should point out that there are a number of misconceptions about trust. For example, it's often said that trust is soft. Trust is built solely on integrity. You either have trust or you don't. Or once lost, trust cannot be restored. Or even trust is established one person at a time. However, the concept of trust is a complicated matter, but it's essential to ensuring an effective learning environment that promotes positive outcomes for every student. The role that leaders play in building the optimal conditions that promote school effectiveness and, in that process, a trusting environment where staff are empowered to best support the learning of their students is fundamentally key. Please look at the following table that highlights the realities and myths of trust. This learning environment, where staff work together to support students and engage parents, has been shown to positively impact student achievement. One research-based example is that of Hattie. In his study about visible learning and the science of how we learn, Hattie and his team synthesized over 800 meta-analyses of educational research and found that one of the most powerful variables in the teaching-learning process was the manner in which feedback was given and received. A culture of trust is seen to be key to that process. At this point, please take a few minutes to consider the following. What does culture of trust look like in practice? How would this vary, or would it, in an online learning environment? How does your current leadership style promote the growth of a trusting learning and teaching environment in your school? And what are you most proud of in this regard? As you reflect, please make note of the leadership practices that you believe are optimal in these circumstances. As we work through what it takes to build a culture of trust, we will consider how leaders foster the conditions for change, behaviors of high-trust leaders. Following the overview, we'll ask leaders to consider how their leadership is fostering the kind of environment where trust is a cornerstone of the team's values. Fostering the conditions for change. Leaders recognize that, first, their team must trust what they say. The process cannot be taken for granted by anyone. Second, they must inspire their team and motivate them to dream big. Third, they must be able to use the data and know what impact the work is having. Gary, how would you go about ensuring that your leadership adheres to these three conditions in an online environment?
At OVS, we encourage productive dialogue amongst our entire team. We know that dialogue nurtures feedback, all forms of which must be accepted to progress. For example, all of our teachers are given the opportunity to work with mentors to stimulate their own professional growth. As an extension of this principle, we seek to include teachers in our decision-making process. We also firmly believe that sharing the success stories that come from these collaborations with our entire team will lead to greater success at the student level.
To consolidate our learning in this module, the following is a list of research-based behaviors of high-trust leaders. From this list, Gary, can you tell me which behaviors resonate most with you?
Well, thank you for this question. Dating back to my time as principal of e-learning with the York Region District School Board in 2005, and continuing to my current role as principal of OVS, I have seen time and time again the positive effect of extending trust to members of your team. A true leader must recognize the value and dedicated, talented individuals on their team who are capable of and willing to accept greater responsibility in order to develop into leaders themselves.
From this list and your own experiences, what kinds of actions might you envision a school leader taking to ensure student success in an online learning environment?
Well, as a positive outcome of having more leaders in your organization, you will undoubtedly discover those with specific talents and skill sets that will allow you to overcome more challenges and further improve your organization. At OVS, we understand that continual innovation is integral to success, whether this be by adding additional resources and tools, growing your internal support systems, or honing your methods of data and feedback collection. After all, in the field of e-learning, we must strive to keep students engaged at all times by remaining relevant and modern in terms of both pedagogy and delivery.
Consider how your leadership is fostering the kind of environment where trust is a cornerstone of your team's values. In what ways do you see a culture of trust as beneficial in an online learning environment? And now, as we conclude, please take a moment to reflect on how you might use this module's information to build a strong culture of trust in your online environment.